Good night and welcome to Mindful Life 231. I'm your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is the 31st of the 5th, the last day of May. That kind of rhymes, doesn't it? The last day of May. And it's a Wednesday, middle of the week. And on Wednesday, the middle of the week, the hump day, as some people call it, what we talk about on this Mindful Life is Tobago. We hail from, well, at least I hail from the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I love that it's a Twin Island Republic, a unique entity. But part of that Twin Island is Tobago, no lesser of a part, as that statement itself brings some contention, be that as it may. But no less of a part than Tobago, and we're talking Tobago issues today. And Tobago issues seem to be in a bit of the highlight recently because a leak happened. A leak came out. And to me, what makes it scary isn't just the content of the leak, as in what they're discussing, which obviously we're going to talk about, but just the fact that the leak came out. Like, if I was in the Tobago People's Party and I'm interested in party politics with that group, the fact that this leak came out should shake your confidence and scare you to the core. This sounds like some kind of inner sanctum party meeting. They're meeting to discuss some of the alternative methods. And someone inside there is recording and leaked it. Listen, people are complaining that, Mr. Farley isn't talking. He's been silent. Where is Farley? That's the call for days now. Where is Farley? People are asking for him, and he seems to be scarce, but I can understand why he might be silent. This is something that you have to think about strategically. Now, in their case, if you think about this, if they jump out to talk too quick here, what if this isn't the entirety of the leak? What if there's more? So you jump out to try and, do some damage control and say, well, and you try to explain that, and then whoops, they leak a bit more. So before they could talk about it, they have to figure out who this leaker is. They have to figure out what we're going to see, how much has been leaked, how much they have, how much more they have. There are lots of unknowns, and that, I think, would be scaring them. And on top of it, it would be difficult for them to even plan. How are they going to plan what to say about this? How are they going to have that meeting? Let's all come together. The same group that met to discuss how we're going to get our message out there, that same group, we're going to come together to discuss how we're going to undo this situation. Well, very likely there's going to be a leak from that again. Poor Farley. Poor Farley. I feel it for him. Politically, this is a difficult position. The leaker in the mix. And who says it's one leaker? How do you know it's one leaker? You see, these are the difficult things about pickup team parties, When you have a pickup team party, that's the problem. And the PNM likes to point this out for obvious reason. It works to their benefit to point this out, but it is a reality. It is a reality. People cannot work together if they are not agreed on principle. And the principle you have cannot just be, we all hate the PNM. And like, hate doesn't really unify like that. Especially, so, okay, we're unified together in hate, and then we conquer the thing that we hate. What now? So, you see, there will be what's your opinion on no observers? There'll be a lot of people that there'll be a lot of people in that group that have different motives. They had different motives for getting into that position, and the direction the whole group as a unit is heading in has been pulled in varying different directions. So, okay, if you were someone with more of a PDP mandate, if you were someone more loyal to Mr. Duke, if you were someone thinking about things heading in one direction and then you're seeing it heading in another direction, it's a difficult thing. So I could see how they could be bursting at the seams and falling apart. It's not like these people came up through the grassroots and they were activists young together and came into this party and they have 20, 30 years together in the fields together, so there's some kind of loyalty. No. All of these, well, not all, but the vast majority of the people there are known entities who became known on their own with different groups. It's like I saw it's so disappointing, a lot of this. I saw the guy who became notorious for building his house with pumpkin and cucumbers. He built a mansion with SIS contractors, and when the news asked him how he built that mansion, he said that he sold pumpkin and cucumbers at the side of the road. Listen, I'm not joking. So, if you think some of the news coming out now is ridiculous, you all should have been paying attention 2010 to 2015. Listen, Trinidad has had some whoppers before. So yeah, cucumber and pumpkin guy, they resurrected him out of the proverbial garbage heap of political garbage heap and brought him in and gave him a position. Why? What's that? What's your opinion on no observers? How often do we call in observers? Like, I understand making a point about it, but I don't think it's as big an issue as the opposition would like to make it to be. I really don't. Like, that's that. Over the years, the talk of corruption in our election systems have never borne out any kind of real facts. And if you look by and large at how our elections are run, there doesn't seem to be, if there is, there doesn't seem to be a large amount of malfeasance inside of there. So the no observers to me isn't going to make me trust the election any less. I also think, I would hope that the opposition leader and the prime minister too, but the opposition leader was the one who kind of structured the direction of that conversation. I'd hope that the opposition leader would more reasonably and more sensibly point out what is at stake in local government, not make it seem like this is a national election and it's an indictment on the PNM. Not exactly. It's about local governance and, you know, get people to actually vote for things that they want in their local government. I'd wish for that, but I know that's wishful thinking. Yes, so let's jump into that story. PEP all the way Dole says, okay brother, you go strong. Who am I to say no? You could choose any party you wish. That's the nature of the democratic system. All right, fire for Farley over leaked propaganda audio clips. Yikes, Mr. Farley. Yikes. Tobago House of Assembly Chief Secretary Farley Augustine yesterday avoided the media as a controversy over who were the individuals heard in an audio clip discussing hiring persons under the THA to spread propaganda on behalf of the New Tobago People Party swirled across the island. The issue has created a firestorm on the island as persons expressed anger that taxpayers' money could be used to fund a party initiative in an illegal manner, with many suggesting those involved would have serious questions to answer. The thing is, from the conversation that was happening, it seems like they're suggesting, if true, that some of the propaganda people are already hired. Listen, let's not spam the chat, Mr. Big Money. Let's not spam the chat. Yeah, some of the propaganda people were already hired. Let me see if I could pull up the audio a bit there. Pause my music. Where's my music? Yo, pause that. Let's see if we could pull up the audio.
Whatever. We need to once get approval, but it is 30 people now. So I just need 5 or 7 to do the strict PR, to do some propaganda. Whether they're going to use fake profiles, whether they're going to use their own profiles, whatever they do.
The voices sounding similar to those of 2 top THA officials.
And
want to discuss of public funds to employ workers to carry out their political agenda.
We'll have to consider is finding a way to employ people on the THA side. Could be menial tasks.
We don't have to pick. Yeah, most of them kind of got a way to ship the hell and we found out.
And most of them kind of get employed already.
Yeah.
So
You all heard that, right? You heard that. According to him, most of them got employed already. And it don't have to be anything, it could be menial. Well, let me just say according to him, according to the voice, because it hasn't been corroborated that that is the voice. You all sure that is not AI? Because this can't be real. I heard some people say that I've heard the AI, I've heard the AI. Listen, I have dabbled around and played around with that AI. I have played around with that AI. That's not how that AI works. For one, I am unsure how clear the AI would be able to replicate typed words, because what you do generally with the voice AIs is you input like a piece of audio clip into the program, and then you type something and the AI uses the audio clip to reproduce whatever you type in that same voice. Now, I am not sure how well that AI is going to reproduce the Tobagonian accent, because I could tell you that Tobagonian accent in that clip was flawless. The next thing, the AI doesn't know the human intonations. For you to get those into, like, if you listen to that, there are stutters, there are pauses, there are you know what you need to do to get that in the AI. That means someone is typing and what we will do like, come on, that's not possible. That's the AI is out. The AI is out of it. No mama guy we sue. Like, oh gosh, give us a better something. AI, it's not AI. You have to come better than that. I think what they could look for is look for a vocal match. Look for a vocal match. Like, search the island. Have an impromptu competition. Mock the chief secretary competition. Who could best impersonate the chief secretary? The winner of that competition, that's what you do. And you let them take the fall. You see, he was having that conversation, you know, it wasn't you. Because that has to be probably one of the only ways you're going to escape that one. I was reading a letter to the editor. Somebody gave some options for ways they could best deal with this. Based on their deafening silence to date, the person went on, I suspect they are currently engaged in a similar exercise. Ironically, their task of providing a feasible explanation may have been made easier if said spin doctors were already on their payroll. Ha! Thus far, I've yet to come up with a viable explanation. However, I have come up with several options, 5 actually, that these officials may be actively considering to deal with this imbroglio. Option 1, stonewalling / 9-day wonder syndrome. At present, this seems to be their preferred option. Under this option, the officials will simply refuse to discuss the matter, with the expectation that in true TNT fashion, it will die a natural death over the proverbial 9 days. The extraordinary lengths they are prepared to go to evade answering questions, including the top officials sneaking in the back entrance like a scaredy cat at the last plenary session, support my contention that this is currently the preferred strategy. Unfortunately for them, I do not think this is working on an educated and discerning electorate, since rather than fading, the calls for an explanation are becoming increasingly strident from a growing cross-section of the population. I like this writer. I really do like this writer. Miguel says it concerns me a lot that you speak so much knowledge and the public still isn't hearing. Well, c'est la vie, bro. C'est la vie. But this first option, I think, is exactly what they're trying. They're trying the 9-day wonder option. You know, all Trinis have a short memory. They're going to forget about that just now. But here's part of the problem. Part of the problem is me. Not only me, but the me's of the world. Social media changed how information runs. Before social media was as popular, that 9-day thing makes sense because it was a news cycle. The news picked it up, the news spoke about it. When the news got tired of it, it dropped. No one heard about it anymore. But that's not what happens now. What happens now is someone on social media could make a video every day for the next 3 weeks about this issue. And as Big Money is saying, Trinidad has a different culture than Tobago. That's true. I don't know if this is what you meant, but because Tobago is a smaller, closer-knit society, I think it's much more difficult, for something like this to just be brushed under the rug. Tony the Ambassador says, the fact our politicians could be caught on a recording and nobody asked for a resignation. Shameful indeed. Ronnie says, yeah, it only works when it comes to a close, but this still wide open. Yup. Option 2, the man says. Option 2, the Shaggy strategy. With the looming failure of option 1, the officials will be forced to break their silence at some point. When they do, they could simply say, a la Shaggy, it wasn't me. They may argue that artificial intelligence is now being used to convincingly produce fake news, and they are victims of a malicious plot to mimic their voices. And until evidence is produced to the contrary, they will stick with that story. Yeah, right. Good luck with that one. Nah, that won't fly. That won't fly. I don't. They'll be very foolish to attempt that one. Even though a certain somebody had a video with their likeness taking 2 pulls in the company of what seemed to be foreign nationals, and the somebody said it wasn't me, and that was enough. So option 3, wag the dog strategy. This option is based on the strategy employed in the 1997 comedy political movie of the same name. In this movie, the fictitious president of the United States is caught in a sex scandal a few days before the elections. To avoid media scrutiny and divert public outrage, his aides hire a spin doctor to construct a fake war against Albania. While the movie was fictional, there have since been many instances of life imitating art whereby political directorates find or manufacture an issue of greater importance to divert attention from the current negative situation. With varying degrees of success, the top THA officials may try to follow suit. However, I do not think they have the capacity or capability to successfully employ this option. The problem is, I don't see Tobago having a big enough issue that they can raise. Like, what are they going to raise? They're going to talk about Tobago autonomy? I mean, no shame to the Tobagonians fighting for their autonomy, but that's not going to distract people. People hear about it every day. That's not a big enough issue. I mean, it's not like Tobago could decide to call a war against Babylon, you know. That could be a plan. Good night, Kremak. What's up, bro? That could be a plan. If they're looking for that distraction right now, there's some conflict between the Tobagonian fishermen and the Barbadian fishermen, where the Barbadian fishermen start back the nonsense with the flying fish. They start back the flying fish nonsense. So maybe, if he's looking for some kind of distraction, and, you know, come to think of it, it's a common political strategy. One of the best ways to unite people is against a common enemy. We're talking Tobago tonight, and the main news coming out of Tobago, the alleged leaked tape. One of the best ways to unify people is against a common enemy. That's how they came together in the first place, unified against the common enemy of the PNM. So they could probably unify Tobago against the common enemy of the Barbadian flying fishermen. That could be one. Option 4, shoot the messenger. This is one option TNT politicians love to employ. Shift the focus to the messenger with the hope that the message would be ignored. Consequently, I will not be surprised when these officials break their silence. They say something like a traitorous rat in the organization took an excerpt of a private conversation and circulated it for his or her own nefarious agenda. The truth is that excerpt was taken out of context and does not paint an accurate picture of the entire discussion, which we cannot disclose because we do not usually publicize what is discussed at our closed door meetings. Would this divert your attention? It certainly would not divert mine. I think that might be their best strategy. You aim the licks at the leaker and say that the leaker edited the tape and it doesn't have the proper context, and the context is lacking, and if you got the context you'd understand what we're really talking about, but we can't give you all of that context. It was a private meeting. In fact, we are speaking right now with our lawyers, and that's how you flip it around. So you go on the offensive. We are speaking with our lawyers now, and what's the word they like to use? We are looking into all possible legal avenues we could take regarding this issue, because it's a very serious issue of a breach of privacy. It's a serious issue of a breach of privacy. But this is what I was saying at the beginning. I think a strategy even like that would be one they would have to be a little wary of, because you don't know how much of the tape there is. I don't think that was the entire tape. So if you come out and say, well, the tape was edited, next thing it's a video, and they only released the audio, but they actually had the video and they had the phone in their hand recording right there. And you said it was an edited audio tape, and more comes out. That's why I think they have to stay silent for a while. They have to try and figure out exactly how they're going to do that. It could be dropping like WikiLeaks posts. Exactly. Many leakers, listen, if this person wants to be serious about the leaking business, that's what you do. One, you don't drop the biggest leak first. Two, you don't drop everything all at the same time. You have to give them some rope for which to hang themselves. Option number 5, mea culpa, fall on their sword. This is my preferred option. If they are the ones involved in AudioGate, with immediate effect, the officials need to publicly acknowledge their error, issue an apology to all Tobagonians and Trinidadians, demit office, and seek a fresh mandate from the electorate. They could, if they choose to, link the need for fresh elections to the ethical considerations raised by me, the Prime Minister, and others when they resign from the PDP. I am certain that I speak for most Tobagonians when I say, if the voices on the audio tape are in fact theirs, we are prepared to accept nothing less than what is outlined under this option. You see, so the Tobagonians are calling for resignations, Tony. They are calling for their resignations. And I have heard the call. And to be fair, I've even heard the call from people who were previously seemingly in their camp. Was it Dr. Vanos? He already spoke out against this and saying that if it is indeed accurate. And so there are people calling for their resignations. So I don't think they're going to be able to just, duck and hide away from this as easily. It's not going to be something. And this is so, I don't want to use the word unfortunate, because it's not about fortunes. If it indeed is his voice, then he made that all on his own. It's not an unlucky thing, but it's just so sad for him and his legacy. You came in as, in the Caribbean, one of the promising young leaders. Many people complain about this kind of gerontocracy we have with all of these septuagenarians, these 70-year-olds that seem to be ruling everything. All these old people all about the place. Let's get some youth in the place. And the youth came in the place. And this is what you do. Listen, I hope he understands. His name is down in, if this is true, his name is down in the history books already under this. You had a single term. The Tobagonians gave you a resounding mandate. They said, yes, go in and make the changes. And the changes you sought to make, allegedly, if this is true, will to bamboozle them, to take their money and not deliver the promises, but take their money and pay people to convince them that you delivered the promises. Bro, how are you coming back from that? How does that happen? And of course, the PNM wants THA elections now, of course. Almost a week has passed since the surfacing of the audio tapes, and the minority leader is calling for elections. The way they are going, Tobago might vote PNM for the next 50 years, it might happen. It might happen. It's not impossible. And that's the difficulty we face in Trinidad and Tobago. That I regularly say this. The PNM is allowed to do so much nonsense because very often when the opposition parties are given a chance, they do worse. So we are forced to put up with the nonsense that we have as the main default party in the country because it seems like all of the alternatives are racing together to be worse. PM, I won't get involved with THA unless law breached. You see, this is how, if true, he has made himself a mockery. Because he was the one talking to the Prime Minister about mind your damn business. You know, like, if you're so flamboyant and vociferous and confident and self-assured, you best be walking a clear path. But to be saying all of this, to be talking all of this, and telling the Prime Minister to mind his business and all of that, and now to be caught like this, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. The Prime Minister has said he will not become involved in the operations of the THA unless there is a breach of the law. Speaking at a breakfast with the PM event at the Trinidad Hilton and Conference Center, on Wednesday, Dr. Rowley responded to a question from PNM Tobago Council General Secretary Akisi London and shenanigans in Tobago and comments about a government of Tobago, addressing the issue of an audio clip in which two THA officials allegedly discussed using public funds to hire people to promote propaganda on social media. Rowley said he's always cognizant that he could be under surveillance. Technology has changed our world, and if some people did not realize that, they'll get surprised. I don't say anything in the company of anybody without assuming they have a tape in their pocket and are taping what I am saying. Listen, that is smart politics. This was the thing I was discussing. That's the thing I was discussing with someone. Like, if true, the nature of this discussion shows real neophyte behavior. Good night, Anika. Shows real novice behavior. Like, you could have said the same thing and couched it in political terms so that you never had to clearly outline it like that. Listen, he sounded like, you know, those cartoons when the bad guy so clearly outlines his plan. I am going to destroy the world. I am going to take the core out of the earth, and I'm going to do it with this special device that I'm going to drill into at this one location at 9 p.m. And I hope the hero does not stop me. Like, the man outlines clear corruption on an audio tape. Marvin Sargent says, obviously, the SSA is listening to all Farley's calls. Well, Marvin Sargent, the problem is that wasn't a phone call. There were multiple people there. That was an in-person meeting. So, maybe it's the SSA, but if it's the SSA, they would have had to have had a bug inside there. And I like a good conspiracy. I always say that. I like a good conspiracy, but the conspiracies have to be reasonable. If the SSA was tapping Farley's phone, I don't think they would leak it like this, because now they would have sold out themselves and you would very likely become under suspicion, strong suspicion. So you have a mole in the party or a rat? Yes, he does. He does. But for Tobagonians, whoever that mole or rat is in the party, they're supposed to love that person. That person did their civic duty. Like, if you're thinking about this, the person was disloyal to the party, but they were loyal to Tobago. And if you're talking about, if you're a Tobagonian, oh, blessings, Alicat. If you're a Tobagonian, what would you prefer? Would you have preferred someone to be loyal to this party or someone to be loyal to Tobagonians? I don't think Tobagonians would see the person necessarily as a rat in terms of the negative connotation there. That's a whistleblower. That's not a rat, that's a whistleblower. That person should be protected. Well done, person. I hope you keep all of the tapes, keep them safe, release them slowly. We'll enjoy them one at a time. But as I was saying, it shows to me real novice behavior inside of politics. Like, I'm thinking, if I'm having this discussion, even in the inner circle, as Dr. Rowley said there, if I'm in politics like that, I have to always assume people are recording me. Why would you admit to something that's basically a crime? Who does that? In clear words, who does that? That's kind of scary when you think about it. That if true, they were willing to speak about it so openly. Like, here's how you speak about this. Here's how you speak about this. Well, what we could look to do is, we could hire some people that are specialists in the communications area. They're specialists in the communications area, and they could have multiple portfolios on a more public facing front and a more private facing front. We have multiple avenues that we hire them in, so we will be able to multiply their effect. You'll understand what I mean here. Multiply the effect on communications to do with our policies and what we have going on. What we have going on, they'll be able to, communicate that. You'll understand what? Yes. Like, sir, how are you? And the words propaganda come out. You literally said the words. We'd hire them using the THA money to pay them to do something menial, but pay them a lucrative salary for propaganda. Like, all of those words left your lips. Spy jobs would have never been for you. You could have never been in that spy business. There's no kind of, what's the word? No kind of cunning to it. Like, if you're thieving the money, thief it a little more slick. The Prime Minister went on, if there are people in Tobago, 14 seats or 24 seats, and they want to go and plan to use taxpayers' money to run their party or whatever they want, that's all your business. The Prime Minister will not get involved in that until it becomes a matter of breach of the law. But let it not be said that as PM of TNT, that I have let Tobago drift. That has not been happening and is not happening. If there are consequences to be paid, then they will be paid. If in Tobago there are officers who are prepared to break the law, they will face the law. Yikes. Little Miss Mediator says it must have become so normal to them because they literally said propaganda like it was nothing. Exactly. This seems like one of two things. Either they have zero sophistication, they're not good at this politics game, or this was just, they became so comfortable with it. They became so comfortable that they were willing to speak so plainly, openly about it. From the conversation, that is how they speak normally. It really does seem so. Marvin Sargent said, the thing is, you don't need to spread propaganda about the PNM doing nonsense all day, every day. Well, that's not exactly what their propaganda was intended for. You see, what you're saying there, Marvin Sargent, and I suppose you are someone who really dislikes the PNM and maybe a supporter of another party. But what you're doing there is the problem they are facing now. Most political parties in Trinidad and Tobago use that strategy. No, I am not Sylvan Trinidad, by no means. By no means. That's why I said that person who leaked it is a whistleblower and should be protected. I am saying that the nature of the leak says something about the nature of the corruption too. But yes, the problem, Marvin Sargent, is that most political parties use just the strategy you're saying there. The PNM doing nonsense. PNM. Okay, all right. Now when you're in governance and people are looking at you, you cannot still call the PNM. And that's the problem that the Tobago People's Party has been running into. People have been asking them, okay, you said you're going to fix this. You're going to make changes. We're looking for the fixes. And then they're saying, nah, this is bad because of the PNM. And people are like, okay, you told us this. You said you will fix it. We put you there to fix it. Now fix it. But the PNM, okay, we heard you about the PNM. Yes, we heard the PNM. That's why we voted them out. Now, can you please fix it? But the PNM. So that's why they needed people. They need to hire people to go out there and spread the message that, hey, we have more to offer than just hate the PNM. We could offer some policies here. Here's what we are doing. That's what they wanted the people to do on their private social media or on a sock puppet account or a false account or whatever. Go out there and tout what we are doing. So it doesn't just have to be about PNM. That's what they needed. And you see, the strategy of hate PNM, it doesn't work once you get into governance. You just need something more than that. He said this was occurring with the Environmental Management Authority. This is happening right now, where the THA publicly decides and announces it's going to break the EMA law. And I would advise you that the EMA has intervened under law and stopped the project. And EMA will take to the courts of TT any and all people who are preparing to break the law in Tobago with respect to the EMA Act. Listen to this nonsense. Listen to this piece of nonsense. THA cannot continue work on Shervan Road. Injunction stays in place. Listen to this, right? An injunction stopping the Tobago House of Assembly, which is run on taxpayers' money, from continuing work on the Shervan Store Bay Local Connector Road, which is a project paid for by tax money, is in place until July 6. On May 26, Justice Frank C. Prasad granted the ex parte injunction to the EMA, which is run on tax money, which complained in an emergency application that it had not granted the requisite approvals to start road work there. Listen to this. A taxpaying organization called the THA uses taxpayers' money to break the law, and then another taxpaying run organization, the EMA, takes them to court. Both of those organizations now hire lawyers and pay for those lawyers out of taxpayers' money. You're listening to this, right? Tell me this isn't a URP program for lawyers. Tell me there's no lawyers URP. What? This is attorney URP. A state organization, a state institution breaks the law, and another state institution takes them to court. Listen, we are paying the lawyers in that case, we are paying the judges in that case, we are paying the THA, we are paying the EMA, we are paying the contractor, we're paying everybody on all sides of that nonsense. And they're just spinning there, spending our money. Everybody's spending taxpayers' money. That's why they don't care. And the lawyers laughing their way to the bank. Insanity. And I mean, I can't even fully blame the EMA. A lot of this is on the THA. This was obviously going to happen. When the THA said, well, we don't need EMA approval. Obviously, you needed EMA approval. What kind of nonsense you think this is? Like, oh, how do you expect the country to run if we have an environmental management authority and you're saying that you don't need the environmental management authority's clearance to do something? That doesn't make sense. You would be killing the power of that organization. So obviously they would have to do something about it. Now, taxpayers' money is being wasted. I wonder if an account could be done on all of this. How much money is being spent there? Like, combined, the combination. How much money altogether on lawyers and all of that? I'll come later to talk about this EMA v THA. Yeah, that'll be good. Tobago. What's going on, Tobago? the beautiful paradise of Tobago. What's happening? It seems like Tobago is on a troubled path. Ronnie, you could come up all now, you know. You could come up all now to speak on that, the EMA versus THA business. I wonder how much money is being spent. When our government sues our government, how much money is spent? Self-governance they want, but like they can't manage a lemonade juice stand, Marvin Sargent says. It could seem so, eh? It could seem so. Yo, yo, yo.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Yeah,
Clearly, very clearly.
yeah.
Clearly.
Okay. So, this is not the first EMA THA concept. Matter of fact, I think that's been going on for years, For years. The THA thinks that it does not need any EMA approvals. Because look at last year. For the carnival, they built the stage on the sea with no EMA approval, right?
Yep.
And the Secretary for Works will proudly say on the Tobago update show, I believe it was, that why we need to get approval from Trinidad. Every time we need something, we have to go to Trinidad. Like, we cannot manage our own selves. And it's like, that's not the point. Because places in Trinidad that want to do work still have to ask the EMA.
You see,
So it's not to say.
many Tobagonians seem to get this wrong. The EMA isn't the EMA of Trinidad. The EMA is the EMA of Trinidad and Tobago. So if you have to go to the EMA office and the EMA office is in Aruca, Trinidad, that doesn't mean that it's a Trinidad only office. It's the same country. Like, I don't understand. Some Tobagonians seem really not to understand this clearly. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so they which that was such a waste of money. $2 million going into the sea, literally. Because the stage is falling into the sea day by day. Every time it passes, like, what was this built for? It has never been used. Right? You build a stage by the sea. Okay, where does the audience go? Because it's a stage, right? So where would the audience go on this stage? For this stage? Are they going into the sea or are they going into the building that the stage opposite? Because it makes no sense.
And
I was like, okay.
And I heard about that same stage where they built that. I believe the THA chief secretary was saying that they planned to do some work there because the sea was reclaiming the land there, so they needed to do some infrastructural work there to help retain the land. And I was thinking to myself, okay, if the sea is reclaiming the land there, how are you going to just up and build one small stage? What do you expect to happen?
The sea to reclaim the stage.
Obviously.
Well, that doesn't make no sense. It was never making any sense, but I realized that you cannot have the conversation. There's no conversation to be had because it's always the wrong answer.
But Ronnie,
Say anything,
you know if they're willing to take Trinidadians to run the fake profiles or what?
But I don't know. I wish.
How much?
I wish I didn't know.
How much they paying?
You know, it's lucrative, you know.
Listen,
Lucrative.
I could pump hey, if you want propaganda, I could give you propaganda. I could give you the propaganda and the proper goose.
You don't talk too much against them. That wouldn't work.
No,
They're not going to.
it doesn't matter. Listen. It shouldn't matter, you know, Because my public-facing image could be talking against you, but when I hit my private profile after hours, nobody needs to know anything. It's a secret profile. I go and I put in my hours. So I would make a post. Here's what I'd do. I'd make a video and I'll bad talk them. And then I'd go on my fake profile and in the comments, I would say, hey, you're talking real nonsense, boy. Hey, don't listen to this man, boy. This party is the...
Well, when I hear where you can drop your application, I drop one for you, I drop one for me.
Word.
Because I don't mind a little extra work. But I just saying, this is just, what was happening was surprising to me. And I found it really strange, the sequence of events, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Thursday before the leak, there was the whole, I can't say that, the whole madness of the woman with the house, the partially blind woman who would have gotten a house but ain't get no keys, right? After this day, I don't even know if the woman get the keys to the house, right? So you come, your papi show the woman, you push it on Facebook, on like national TVs, saying that you gave this woman a house, right? The Thursday, the Liz Williams bust a story, the woman ain't moving to the house. This Friday, they released an interview with the woman saying how Liz Williams real police. Now, let me tell you, I am not no fan of Liz Williams. Liz Williams like back in a long time. But she has always liked it. Ever since she just has all Liz Williams like bacchanal and drama. That's how she always has it, right? So they're telling the story that is Liz. So the woman come and she interview and say how Liz Williams bully her and what kind of things. So Liz Williams leak, well not leak, but she released the recording with the woman conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The woman literally got her cheap handy down because in the recording she's talking about how she calling them and nobody not answering her and how she feeling so shame and all kind of thing, right? So
then, from that recording, it seems like the bullying may have been in the other direction.
Yeah, because I mean, you get a house and now this you get a story busting, now you're making it look bad. So you had to sing for yourself literally. So it seemed to me that's how it seemed like, she was singing for her supper, basically. And up to now she's selling at the house, so I don't know what she's saying that for. She better shut her mouth and let them get she out. Because she could have still go on TV and say how a whole month passed and they never get she out.
Yeah.
Cool, that story passed. The Tuesday now, Minister of where's that Marvin Gonzalez?
Public utilities.
Right. He comes to Tobago to this pipeline initiative, something, right?
Yeah.
Trevor, I'm not say Trevor, to see who it was exactly, but I saw Pollard in particular, Secretary Pollard, was his invitation showing that it was for the Wednesday. So Gonzalez and his team was like, yo, we messaged everybody, we emailed everybody, telling them of the new date since the 18th, because somebody show a screenshot of the email going out, and it had the date.
So what happened there? The minister come to Tobago, and the Tobago side say that he gave us late notice so we couldn't reach. But the minister come out to release the information that he gave them proper notice.
So he said that he gave them the wrong date. So he had to say, look, I changed the date and everybody who is here would have gotten the change date and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then bam, the same day or the next day, this recording going out. And the sequence is like, even if you have no other story really and truly to bust on yourself right now, you run out of story.
Mm-hmm. Listen, that is about as bad as it gets, I was listening to some people talk about it, and some people were trying to, put it down like, this is no big issue. And some people were trying to make it seem like the issue was propaganda. Like, you see how they're trying to create propaganda, and that's the issue. No, the issue is not the propaganda, Every political party uses propaganda. Propaganda is a part of politics. Propaganda isn't a nasty word, it's just a part of politics. The problem is the taxpayers' money. And you see, it's not even like they're saying, okay, we want to hire people and double their portfolio. They're pretty blatantly saying that these people will be doing nothing really for the taxpayers. They will be exclusively for us.
Yeah, because as you say, nothing is like every party. And my friend said this. You should be hiring people to do the propaganda for you. Mm-hmm. You should be, as a political party, a new party at that. But you can't use the people's money to do that. Use your own money to do that. That is the problem. The problem is the use of the money. And why you say that? That sounds so stupid. Like we have to hire the people in the THA. Get them in the like what? Like
you know why? Let me tell you why, Ronnie. Because I don't know how well they understood how that political thing would work. But running political parties require lots of money. If they don't have what they call the war chest, they don't have a large account in their political party, they cannot hire people from the political party side. They have no money. So they have to get that money some other way. Now, just to quickly touch on what Willie Bang is saying there in the chat. Violence does not work like that. That is not going to work. The only way we get change is violence. It sounds ridiculous. That sounds like someone who has never studied history. If you have studied history, violence used in that way nearly exclusively leads to nightmare scenarios. So if you want to turn Trinidad into a hellscape, by all means, go and try to do something with violence. And to make it seem like violence has always been how all change happen is ridiculous. Like, okay, basically every country in every island in the Caribbean has independence and is self-governed to varying extents. We know how that works. We know that it's not total self-governance. Every country, basically. And nearly none of them did it violently. All of them through peaceful methods. So to say the only way was violence is not true. There was one who did it through violence, and I wonder what's the outcome today. Let's not discuss that. Let's go ahead, Ronnie. What were you saying?
I was saying I was just saying that they should have consulted some secondary school girls to help them to speak more discreetly. Because what the hell? That is how you just talk. You don't talk, oh gosh, so shame. Oh gosh, just saying. And you know what was so distasteful was when I don't know if you follow up, right? So Liz Williams would have gone to the house. I don't know if that's what it's called, the THA sitting.
The plenary sitting?
To ask about the recording and thing, and them walking past the woman like they don't see her.
Yes, I saw that.
Bruh, you acting like you in Hollywood. What is this?
And here's the thing. Here's what they seem not to understand. That is not walking past Liz Williams, who you find fast and out of place. That is walking past accountability to the electorate, Yeah. That's the electorate. Everyone in the electorate wants these answers, and they're waiting. She is, as it were, the mouthpiece, because that's what I say about Liz Williams. I know she has her biases, she has her things, but I find her to be actually a journalist. There are some other people with biases, other women, that I may say may not be a journalist. I won't consider them a journalist. She is a journalist. She follows the story. That's what she's doing. She's following the story. That what she was doing there is great journalism. Everyone wanted that answer, and they just walk past. Little Miss Mediator says, I was thinking the same. We learn to code our text and speech in primary school. Yeah, you need to go and teach. Get a job in They might hire you in the THA to teach them how to be subtle.
Yeah. Because I mean, oh gosh, that was real. That catch me real off guard. Like I swear, I sit down here. From the time I hear you don't start bad with this propaganda thing, I say, wait, THA. I say, oh god.
Like
No,
that was Ronnie. When I heard this, I was wondering, like, if this leaker must be an interrogation expert, because I was wondering if this person asked him a question that made him say that, because he said, like, if it had a checklist of all the words you should not say on a recording as a leader, he said all of them. All. He ticked all the boxes. Like, when I heard that, I was similar. I was like, wow.
So painful. Like, oh my goodness. And the supporter, like, this fella was writing all the articles and thing in their support during the elections. I forget his name. A journalist, kind of. I think he's a doctor.
I don't know him.
I can't remember his name, but
Good night, Splinter Cell.
He and all saying, oh, like, girl, if that is the case, they need to resign. Like, everybody in their favor, just like, nah, boy, that one too far.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. As some people were pointing out, they all do it. And yes, they kind of all do it. Basically, all political parties hire loyal people inside of the government. They do it. I remember when the partnership came into power, right before the partnership came into power, Morning Edition, one of the country's primary morning talk shows, I found this host, it's interesting the direction he's headed in. And then what would you know, when the partnership came into power, he left and got a job cushy and nice inside of the government. Wow. But yes, it happens. And
I just laughing.
A certain AJ guy, if you know who that is, AJ. But
I thought you was talking about the next one.
If you want to do that, you hire the person in their area of expertise. Everyone sees it, but that's how politics runs. It's not illegal. It's not necessarily even inappropriate. You want someone you trust in the position, and this person is able to do the job. That's how it happens. You give people jobs based on that, and that's what you do. But that's not even what you're talking about. You basically let it be known, we hire in nonsense work here. Love your videos and how you articulate your stories, bro. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Dr. Vanas, yeah, but to be fair to the Dr. Vanas, he's been distancing himself a while now. He was early PDP, but for quite some time now, he has been pretty critical. And I know some people like to call the heavy roller inside there too, and I wouldn't put the OG up there. I wouldn't put OG there, because he, for a while now, he has been saying that these men not answering their phones, they're not taking advice. So, I wouldn't put it on him. Farley looked like the power got to his head a bit. It could seem so. It would happen fast. And here's the issue. He now finds himself as the leader of a party. You now have to get it done. Now, bear in mind, however, the PDP leader got it done. I don't know all how, but he got it done. He was evidently able to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in money pumping in some way or the other. If you don't have those connections, you're in problems. That's why campaign financing is one of the key points every country always talks about trying to solve corruption, because campaign financing is one of the root areas of corruption. So, for example, there may be another political party who wouldn't need to do that, because they could get a contractor to donate to their party. The contractor would pay for them to hire their propagandists, and then they understand that we will give the contractor a contract later down the road. But it seems like they don't have that ability quite yet. So they have to cut out the middleman. We can't have a middleman. It's just straight propaganda here. Bro wanted that position since he was in secondary school. Yes, I remember that. It now, back when he was talking about some of that, about how long he wanted to be there and all of that, it could have sounded a bit endearing, like, you know, a dream and ambition. Now it could sound power hungry.
It sounded like he was just thirsty, and any boat that was getting him off that island, he was taking it.
Yep. And that's the point I made at the beginning, and I'll make it again. If you are of the view that the means justify the ends, you will never reach the end. You will always be in the means, and you would always be justifying a point that never reaches. So, okay, you have to be corrupt to get in. When you get in, then you have to be corrupt to stay in. It's the problem that the socialists and the revolutionaries always find. So, nobody care about men previously in the chat. He was saying that which revolution ever worked without violence? And the problem is nearly no revolution ever worked. Full stop. I think there is possibly one revolution that really worked, and that was the American Revolution. And I'd say there were a lot of idiosyncratic things about that revolution versus the others. But the vast majority of revolutions don't work, because here's the issue. If I need violence to get into power, to do the right thing, I am killing these people to get into power to do the right thing. Once I get into power, and there are some people that want to remove me from power, what would I need to do to them? Kill them too. The violence will never stop, because you will never reach the end. The means would keep justifying the end that never comes. Look at all socialist nations. That's what happens. The French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the Maoist Revolution in China. Constantly. It's the constant among them. We take it with violence, we hold it with more violence. And then what we'd have to do eventually is, people don't want to live in this violent, crazy place, so they want to leave. So what we'd have to do is, we'd have to force you by violence to stay too. The ends would always be justifying the means. It's an insane thing to do. Okay, then what's the solution, Willie Bang asks? That's the question. And to me, I've always said this, the solution is cultural. I always say it. The solution isn't looking towards the politicians. The solution is cultural. The solution is change of attitude. The solution is trying to get as many people in Trinidad as possible to have a cultural change in how they see things. And if they have that cultural change, eventually the political change would happen. There's this statement, politics is downstream of culture. I don't know if anyone has ever heard that quote from, what was this guy's name? Breitbart, a journalist in the US named Breitbart. Politics is downstream of culture. So if you could change the culture, you change the politics. And what do you think I'm doing, rambling on the internet whole night? Attempting to change the culture. At least here, we have every night upwards of 100 people taking nearly 2 hours of us talking about current events and political issues. Like, I was reading someone talking about the fact that so much of the internet content is just vacuous dating advice and nonsense pranks and funny skits. Well, change the culture. That's how you change those things. You sounding like a police, Nathan. Sylvan, don't do me that. Yes, Andrew Breitbart, correct, Curvon. Yeah, kudos, bro, you trying hard. Thanks, man. Willie Bang says you are very impactful, bro. But let's be real. Let's be real about what? Like, you see, the problem is, I lent out my Jordan Peterson books, and I said I pulled out the Jordan Peterson for you. Clean your own room. That's the issue. Lots of people think, when you're thinking revolutionarily, you're thinking that what I need to do is I need to go out there and, do something in the world to enact change out there. But you can't run your own life properly yet. Is your room tidy? Are the things under your control? Do you have everything that you should have under your control well controlled? Well, if you don't have that, what makes you believe that you would be able to make a proper change out in the real world? So here's what to do. You start with everything closest to you. So everything that I could control, I do control, and I do it as perfectly as I can. And I expand from there. So my life, my family, my community, and you keep doing that, and that's where the change comes from. With respect to persons thinking like us versus persons who are in the hamster wheel go together, yeah. In the grand scheme of things, how do you think numbers are looking? Well, you know, you can't save everybody, you know. Like that's if you have that as your dream, that you know, if I have to make change in this world, well then everyone has to be changed. Well then you'll never do anything, because that's just not feasible. There's no way you like saying telling men to respect the Venezuelan women and don't abuse them, and they are human beings too. And I'm thinking to myself, well, somebody gave their friend a lot of money to make a nonsense advertisement, because you think you're going to change the mind of some abusive tusty man by him seeing an advertisement on TV telling him don't be an abusive tusty man. No, it's not going to happen. That's just the reality of the world we live in. That's why we need police. And Sylvan, we need police because there are people who will not change. They will not. There's nothing you could do to change them. So what we need to do is get rid of them from our society. Separate them from us. Yeah.
But just this weekend, I was having that conversation with a young lady. I wanted to ask you something, I forget her. But yeah, I was having the same conversation.
Oh, Scafty.
Right? She does work. She works with uniform personnel. Let's place it like that. And she was saying, you know, I know it has some real good police officers or sharks and stuff like that. And I was like, you know something, you know what is really get me? Oh my gosh, don't tell me my gas done. Oh no. Yeah. I was like, but these good officers that you claim it have, none of them willing to stand up and speak out about what's going on. And she's like, yeah, because so and so, whatever happened is the problem, right? And I'm like, no, they don't do it because they want to live comfortably. And once you don't want to come out of your comfort zone, you really and truly don't have no good that you could really do now. You always have to, oh my goodness. You always have to kind of just do what people say. So on it, well, they are going through it.
That's why I laugh at you know. I could see like you're trying to talk, but something else going on there. Just make sure your food finish cook. Make sure your food finish cook there. And you're right. I agree. And you know I regularly talk about that. I think a large part of the problem we face in Trinidad and Tobago is corrupt policing, and the corruption runs deep, and because of the batch kind of thing, police don't sell out each other. Everyone wants to live comfortably. No one wants to rock the boat. So let's not rock the boat and we all go down the river over the waterfall together. That's the way it goes. Massimo says, well, I don't think that violent revolutions may necessarily perpetuate unjust violence indefinitely. For example, even countries such as France, with the French Revolution, or China, have maintained a great degree of stability in its current state, perhaps most especially China. Well, I don't agree with that, because the French Revolution was followed by years of mass murder, and then within 30 years, within a generation, the French Revolution reverted right back to an imperialist regime. Napoleon came after the French Revolution. So it didn't even successfully do what they wanted it to do. The actual French Republic that we know now came about peacefully. The French Revolution, the republic that came about by violence during the French Revolution, that one crumbled. It ended in murderous madness with what's the guy's name? Oh, his name always slips me. The main guy himself, the guy who started the revolution himself, he lost his head in the end. Everyone died. It was a circle of beheadings. That's how it went. So I don't think the French is an example of one that worked, and I don't think the Chinese is one either. The Chinese murdered and starved over 100 million of their own people. I wouldn't call that successful. Up till now, there are Chinese still living in hell-like conditions. Why do you think they have to punish the Uyghur Muslims? Why do you think they have to keep re-educating them and attempting to wipe them out? Because you can't have a religious group inside of your authoritarian country. Because we know the way this country is supposed to run. If you believe in some God telling you how you're supposed to live your life, then you are going to go against us. If you go against us, we can't run the country how it's supposed to run. So we must be the only God there is. The state is the only and the highest God. No, I wasn't talking about Louis or Napoleon. I was talking about the guy who did the revolution himself, Jean. A kind of unique French name, a very unique French name. I'll know it when I see it. But yeah, China is built on extremely underpaid slave labor run by extremely rich people. Yes, China is not a good example of a revolution that worked. There's only one example I know of a revolution that basically worked, and that was the American Revolution. And I will say that worked because it didn't run in the same tone of the other revolutions. And it wasn't a revolution of one country, of people within a country throwing off their ruling class. It was a revolution of this country throwing off the entire ruling class of another country. So you were able to have that separation a bit. Would you consider violent revolutions, therefore, as having no impact to a nation's cultural contribution, which is the argument I am postulating? No, I wouldn't say it has no impact. I wouldn't say that. Not to say either. You know, the name is bothering me so much, I just have to find it. The French Robespierre. That's the guy, Robespierre. Maximilian Robespierre. Robespierre, who was a lawyer instrumental in kicking off the French Revolution. He hung his best friends. He beheaded his best friend right before, and then his best friend beheaded him. Was a cut off neck for cut off neck. I mentioned China for its economic growth and regime stability, contributing to social stability, which I consider as a success. Okay. I understand that, but China's economic growth wasn't based on their revolution or their authoritarianism. China's economic growth was based on their acceptance of limited capitalism, limited free market. They're running a free market communist system where they open their country to free market goods, and that's what caused China in the last 30 years to balloon into economic success. Before that, China was starving to death. So it's not the authoritarianism that gave them that success. It was actually adopting free market principles that gave them that limited success. French, alright, Tolerant, bring a tank for me now, my neighbor, out to say, it was a merchant class revolution, not a real revolution in America. Okay. French minister Tolerant wrong. Observe Bolivar in Gran Colombia. Venezuela has never been stable for more than 200 years. All right. The real puppet master was Tolerant. Maybe it was Tolerant, but I'm talking about who beheaded who. And it was a merchant class revolution is correct in the States. That is correct. That is what it basically was, but nonetheless it also had a cultural aspect, because I think like the United States had a distillation benefit. It's like the Indians that came to Trinidad and the Fat El Razak were certain kinds of Indians out of India. Well, poor would be one, entrepreneurial would be another. Because you have to be a certain level of struggling, but you also have to have a certain level of daring to jump on a boat and go halfway across the ocean looking for opportunity. Granted, some more tricked. Now, similarly in the United States, lots of the people who made up the population of the United States were people who were fleeing Europe for one reason or the other. So it had a kind of different culture over there than the predominant European culture. So I think that helped to make that system work in a unique way. That helped to make that system work in a unique way. And then for a revolution to adopt free market, libertarian, liberal principles after the revolution is quite remarkable. And for them to hold on to it is very strange. So kudos to them on that, but it's not the common thing. It's not what usually happens. All right, it's 11:15, people. We had a good time. We talked Tobago. Massimo says, yeah, but the political model that allowed for that was an authoritarian state in its totality, which was ultimately a holdover from the revolution. Correct. And similarly, Massimo, similar happened in Dubai. Dubai was able to have that expanse of economics because they accepted free market systems, the British common law property right systems, and they were able to balloon because of that. But they were able to do that so quickly because of their authoritarian system. So yes, you are right. To me, the ultimate system in the world is having a kind, benevolent dictator running a free market system. The problem is you don't find kind, benevolent dictators out there. Dubai also uses the same slave labor. Yes, they do. That's why I said it is authoritarian. But yes, if you have the authoritarian side overseeing a free market, there is going to be prosperity. Yes, I agree. But there's not going to be freedom. And it would be a limited level of prosperity because the prosperity would be limited to the avenues that the authoritarians want it to go down to. And you'd always have those two working against each other. So right now in China, that's why they disappeared Jack Ma, the Alibaba guy. The wealthiest guy in China, the wealthiest billionaire in China, he had to be disappeared. Why must he be disappeared? Well, as you get wealthier, as people in the free market get more power, then the authoritarian side recognizes if this free market gets too much power, we lose power. So the authoritarian side and the free market always battles with each other. So yes, you can get economic benefit, but it isn't ideal, it isn't the best benefit, and there isn't freedom there. That's a nightmare. Lee Kuan Yew might get that pips. I can be a dictator, king, the communist state of Trinidad, Tobago. Could be. I could be, trust me. All right, you could be a kind dictator king if you say so, to an extent. That's why I'm not so against the idea of commissary dictator. Ugh. Like, bro, if I could have gotten God to come now and be the dictator, like, by all means, Father Lord, come dictate the peace. The problem is I don't trust people. And when you give humans power, very often they do crazy things with it. So, you know, that's the issue right there. Now, in history, there have been some remarkable dictators who have done strange things. The Romans did it. The Romans would have a dictator who would come and take power during a time of emergency. And then when the emergency is done, many of them gave up the power and went back to their normal life. George Washington in the United States, who was the first US president, he was a dictator for all intents and purposes. He wasn't voted into that position, and he gave it up. There are some like that, but good luck finding those. A little power tends to corrupt correctly, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. JR says, not if we have a software voting system where each citizen have say over all the issues. That's direct democracy. Direct democracy, I think, is a nightmare. That's mob rule. Because the problem with it isn't that every citizen gets a say in and of itself, but it's that people are actually pretty easy to control. And you'd have the what's the word they have for them, boy? That word keeps slipping me. You'd have the mouthpieces who are best able to sway the crowd, having madness done all around the place. Like the lesson, a biblical lesson in that, the lesson of the Bible, where 1 week, one week is Palm Sunday, where they glorify Jesus and he's a great guy, and literally the next week is Easter, where they kill him. So, you know, it's that fickle nature of the crowd. Crucify him, praise him, you know, the crowd goes either way. You don't really want direct democracy. It sounds better than it actually is. Fali didn't learn about the effect of power, cults of personality. All right, people. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. This has been the Mindful Live. I will catch you again tomorrow for tomorrow's Thursday Talks. We just come in and we talk, we chill, we talk about the issues, you jump in and have a discussion. Until then, folks, I will see you guys later. Hold it down. Peace. Be well, people. Be well. Later, Nisi.